G'day guys, Tweedledurpy with another bug slash exploit video. Reporting this to the devs in early January, or mid-January actually now. I'm a little bit sick at the moment, so if I skew some of my words or mumble a lot, that's why. All clogged. Anyway, so this video is to do with aspect ratios as well as clipping. So what we've got here is we've got a 2x1 that I've been building and digging out, you know, as the little mole rat does. This is obviously just a single player game at the moment. I wouldn't do this on a live server. But anyway, so what we've got now in build 18.3, build 3, sorry, is we've got field of view now available to us. 65 being the default, 85 being the maximum. Can't be overridden by commands like 18.2. So if we do that and a 16:9 ratio, I'm playing 2560 by 1440, which my monitor allows. This would also work on 1920 by 1080. So if we look up in this 2x1, we can kind of see details on the edges and stuff. You can see a tunnel there on the left that I just like quickly dug down to make this point. So can't see too much detail with the 16:9 ratio, but I used custom resolution tool, which is a tool that some monitor overclockers use to try and squeeze even more out of their monitors than what the manufacturer allows them to. So what we'll do, I create a custom resolution of 2560 by 1080, which is 16:9. 21:9, sorry. So we'll apply that, and as you can see, just looking straight forward, I can see a fair bit of detail just out the right hand side here. But if we look up and turn around a little bit, you can see a fair bit more. Granted, this isn't even at bedrock. If we quickly go down to bedrock, and we just dig a little bit, and you can see so much more. Like, you can see something like, unless you're right next to it, that's also a bedrock. But if you're just trying to find other bases that are hidden underground on a PvP server, well, you could just dig everywhere and look. I mean, granted, the Funpimps have implemented that you can only see 80 blocks squared out from where you're currently standing, so kind of like the chunk border, quote unquote. But you can still see a fair bit of detail, and if you've got an auger or a steel pickaxe, you can just go to town and go around the whole map and mark out locations where you know where bases are, and then you can just come back and raid them. Now, I know that a lot of PvE players for this game will actually say, oh, well, you know, PvP is not the focus, but I mean, if there was literally no focus on PvP, there wouldn't be things like land claim blocks introduced. That was purely for the PvP aspect of it. So that's that. There will always be PvP in this game, unless the Funpimps decide that it's too hard or it's definitely not worth their time, then they'll just remove that stuff. But until then, this sort of stuff drastically affects PvP servers, because if someone can just do this, walking around, have a look up, oh, you know, there's someone's base there. That is something that admins can't police whatsoever, because if admins were to come along and say, oh, well, you saw that base, a lot of people, especially if they get banned, will just claim admin abuse, where really it's not admin abuse. They're just being cheeky and going, oh, well, I accidentally saw it, it's because of the devs, blah 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 blah. You know, there's like no recourse for admins or server owners against people who use these sorts of exploits that are built into the game. So anyway, that's 18.3 in a nutshell for clipping exploits. I think that's probably the most godly of them, because you can't track it. Like, you can see someone's digging along in a tunnel, but you're not seeing someone place a random block like destroyed stone or dirt or even or sand, anything like that. You can't see them see them placing blocks to block their field of view. Well, not block their field of view, but to kind of like clip them into the terrain. I'll give you a brief example here. So if we go to destroyed stone and just take that, put that in there. Now we destroy that, so it is on an incline. Obviously, you can't really do much with that, like, but if we turn around, place that block, you can see a fair bit more. Now that's the one that's easy to place, because you see someone just place a block and then they have a look around, go, oh yeah, well, you know, that base is over in that direction, I'll just start digging that way. That's pretty easy to please. But when you have tunnels going down into hidden bases like that, that are able to be seen without people placing blocks, just digging around, that's harder to please. That's why I'm reporting this, because it makes it almost impossible for server owners to combat. My recommendation to the Funpimps would be to actually have a thing in the server config XML file to allow them to disable field of view changes by clients that join the server. I think that would be the only thing that they could do if they're wanting to keep this in for other players, such as PvE players. I mean, I don't know many PvE players that would enjoy mole ratting and then running down their little tunnel and seeing the sides constantly. I mean, there is no need for that on PvE or single player. But for PvP, massive issue, and I think there should be an option in there for server owners to be able to turn that off. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'll quickly insert a clip here of me doing it in 18.2 now. Okay, so this is the 18.2 build 5 version, and how you do the field of view exploit on this one. So we'll go into console, we'll put in our low command here. So we're at the default of 65 at the moment. This is on aspect ratio 16:9, 2560, 1440. So what we'll do is we'll put in our command here, we'll go to 90. We can see out the sides here quite clearly. Made sure to do it under a town this time, so we can make sure that we can actually see a lot of detail rather than just a tunnel going straight down. But this is achievable with the amount of detail seen in 18.3 as well, build 3. So what we'll do is we'll see if we can increase that a little bit further. 113. Okay, so 90 is the maximum. So what we'll do now is switch that aspect ratio over to 21:9. And we can see a lot more detail. If there were bases on the surface that were just decoys but had like hidden tunnels that went down to bedrock, you would be able to see it in that building right there. So that broken frame there at the bottom, I mean, if that led down to a tunnel, but there was a piece of dirt that someone had placed in between them, so people be none the wiser, they'll just think, you know, oh, broken POI, you know, no one's based down there. I mean, yeah, huge issue. I mean, because majority of base raids on PvP, unfortunately, are offline. A lot of people like myself prefer the person to be online because it allows you to engage in banter and all that sort of stuff, a bit of talk, so to speak. But you know, like majority of base raiding though on PvP 7-day servers is done offline. And what I could see there was the void, so you can sort of see almost at ground level when you're clipping. Yeah, there you go, you can see the void there. So if there was a base out there just to the bottom right where I'm looking now, that gray is the void. So that's bedrock. So if someone's built down there, I'll be able to see their base at bedrock with me being at bedrock. And yeah, unplaceable. But anyway, I'll switch back to the main clip now. Thank you. And as you can see, with using the commands in the console, you're able to change your field of view. Now, it doesn't change it while you're in a live server, granted, But if you go into a single player game and you change it before entering a live server, it works because it changes it in the actual game itself. So you're changing it client side, single player, and that flows over to multiplayer servers. So people saying, "Oh, I can't do it." Well, that's because you're on a live server and you don't have permissions to put commands into console. So you just go into a single player game, put on DM, CM, whatever's required, put in your command, go back to the multiplayer server, and you've got the higher field of view. So that's a huge issue for there too. Anyway, that's the end of my report, and hopefully this gets a serious look into, and consider putting those sections in for the server owners to be able to switch it off. Anyway, all right, thank you. Bye.